Hello again. Well, Rangers got to the semi-final and a meeting with Dunfermline, having seen off Arbroath in the second round, a 4-0 win there, and then they moved on to meet Morton in the third round at Capello, a 2-1 win there. Then a fourth round meeting with Hamilton Accies, where 2 Mark Walters goals and 1 from Trevor Stephen gave them a 3-0 win. And that then took them through to the semis.
Holding off O'Boyle to find Munro. Played on there by McCoist for Johnston. Here's McCoist again. Now Trevor Stephen! Walters making for the byline. Well, a misunderstanding there. Played back in by Wilkins. Westwater scrambling across his goal. Stevens inside. Here's Stephen. Now Gough. There's Johnston! The flying header for Rangers second. Here's Gary Stevens. Delicate ball inside. Here's Johnston. There's McCoist. And that was a classic. There's McCoist nodding it on. Tierney had to be careful. Well, that's great play by Stephen. Here's Maurice Johnston. They're queuing up in the middle. McCoist made it. And once again, Johnston plays a vital role in the build-up. Now Johnston. Stevens making for the byline. Here's Johnston dropping in deep. Angle cross, kept in by Walters. Ian Ferguson.
Well, Andy, that night, I mean, a terrific performance by Rangers, but a dreadful one by Dunfermline. They hit Dunfermline so hard so early on.
Yeah, it looked like Johnston and McCoist actually clicked that night, and the kind of performance that Graham Souness is demanding from them today. But it's not been the hardest of paths through to the final for Rangers. I think they'll be first to admit that. It's been quite easy for them, but they've steadily got better, Jim, as it's gone on, and culminating in that tremendous semi-final here, when they really clicked, everything worked perfectly for them, and they played probably as well as they can do.
Is that the intention, do you think, today, Andy? They'll go out and try and hit Aberdeen very early on. Obviously, they'd like to think they could score 3 in the first half. Can't really see that happening, but is that the intention, to hit them hard early? Yeah,
I think they'll go looking for a goal early on. I think the way that Rangers, we're having Alan McCoist and Mo Johnston up front, the best way to go about a game is obviously to attack a team. They're 2 tremendous players, tremendous characters, and they both score goals at a prolific rate. And if you're going to use them, then use them properly and get on and get at a team early on. And I would think that Graham Souness will be hoping that one of them can pop the ball in the net early on for Rangers.
Curiously though, Andy, the goals haven't been coming for them in the league this season.
That's true, they've struggled in the league, they've stuttered a bit, but they have an affinity with this cup. They like it somehow. Previous 3 years they've lifted it. So they have an affinity with this cup that they don't want to lose, and there's something about it. But they haven't stuck it together in the league. You're right there, Jim, for some reason or other. But I mean, if they can produce a performance like that, then I'm sure that the management and the staff and the supporters here will be happy in Rangers' point of view.
All right, and it will so to Aberdeen's path to the final. In the second round, they went to Fir Park, Motherwell, where they beat Albion Rovers by 2-0. Their third round meeting with Airdrie saw them comfortably through a 4-0 win at Pittodrie. Then in the fourth round, they were at home to St Mirren, a 3-1 win there. The Dons in the semis again.
Now it's McLeish for Aberdeen. There's Brian Grant, he's found space. Now Cameron with a shooting chance. Yes! Aberdeen take the lead. Ian Cameron.
And a smashing goal there from young Cameron, of course, who does not feature today after getting concussed recently. But a terrific goal to win a semi-final.
Great goal. I mean, it deserved to win a semi-final, that. And they'll miss him today, there's no doubt about that, Aberdeen. But they've had a much harder path through to the final than Rangers, no doubt about that. Airdrie, St Mirren, and then Celtic here in the semi-final. They've had to work very hard to get there. But in their way, they've scored lots of goals getting here. They're into double figures. Rangers are into double figures. And Aberdeen will be looking to win it, as we said earlier on. They haven't won a trophy for 3 or 4 years now, Jim. They've lost the last 2 Skol Cup finals. They'll be determined to prove it right. And I'm really looking forward to seeing the boy Mason. I played against him a couple of times last year in the reserves, and he looked a class above the rest in the reserve team football. It's great to see him playing today, and I'm going to pay particular interest in him. I see he's their top goal scorer in this competition, and obviously Aberdeen are looking for him to get something.
They'll be looking to, Andy, I would have thought, for a significant contribution from the likes of Jim Bett in midfield. He's very important to them today.
Jim's probably had his best start to the season for many a year. He's come and he's dictating the play from midfield. That that is their strength going forward, I feel, today. It'll be their midfield. They're going to rely an awful lot on Jim Bett and Robert Connor, who's a tremendously skillful player. But if Rangers are going to worry about Jim Bett, he's an ex-player. He wants to do well against ex-clubs. All players do. And he's the one man that can turn the screw for Aberdeen and win them the game.
Theo Snelders too will be looking to make amends for last year's cup final when he gave away. He still says he didn't, but he gave away the early penalty. Good keeper too, isn't he?
The best in Scotland. I mean, he was voted last year the player of the year in Scotland. That speaks volumes for how everybody thought about him. There's no doubt he's the best goalkeeper in Scotland at the moment, and Rangers have their work cut out. It's great when you look back and you see you've got Alec McLeish and Willie Miller, who I can't believe they're still bloody playing, Jim, I tell you. And here's me sitting up here with you. But you look and you see those two who won't give much away, and you look beyond them and you've got a keeper like Theo Snelders. It's a great base to build upon.
And young Jess getting his big chance today. Just a youngster. Alex Smith thinks very, very highly of this young lad.
Yeah. I'm a great believer in if you're good enough, you're old enough. Alex Smith believes he's good enough at 18 to stick him in. Put him in the final. The lad might surprise a few people, and I hope he's a good game.
Crowd, of course, filling in now today. Big crowd, 60 plus. It's filling up outside. Tremendous atmosphere. We can even feel it in here, can't we? Look at that. Packed up there, isn't it? Fantastic crowd. Family enclosure too. A big family day because mums and dads, there's all the kids out. That's terrific to see, Andy,
It's good to see. I mean, that's the one thing that was probably been missing in our game over the last 10 years is getting the mums and dads and the kids to come together. And there in that shot, we see families here. It's brilliant. And
that's lovely, which is nice too. Rangers and Aberdeen standing side by side. Well, let's now go to Jock Brown, and alongside him, of course, is Ian St John.
Thank you, Jim. Yes, back up in the commentary position and all set for the big match. The atmosphere building up beautifully now, and the anticipation of the crowd quite remarkable. And as you say, a real atmosphere to savour here at Hampden this afternoon. The family atmosphere, looking forward to a tremendous match, and the pitch looking, as you can see, in immaculate condition. Ian, good place to be this afternoon.
Oh yes, of course. I mean, I just think about it. I could have been sitting at home and watching Manchester City and Aston Villa. So I'm obviously delighted to be here because the Skol Cup final has proved to be a great competition, Jock. And I keep saying to people down in England, you know, that it's the way the competition is run. You know, it's all about goals. It's all about, you know, early games, finish, won matches, and the whole thing is, I think, is culminated in this final here, and it's a marvellous competition.
And the crowd now will erupt in just 1 second because the ball boys have emerged down below us here, and the teams will be following very shortly indeed. Rangers fans there, now some Aberdeen supporters, 20,000 down from the Granite City this afternoon, really hoping that they can overcome the last couple of disappointments in the last 2 years. So the ball boys have sold us a dummy somewhat. They've come out a little bit ahead of the players. Players should be led out by the respective managers. Remember that Graham Souness and Walter Smith of Rangers are not allowed in the dugout for this match after their ban. They have to watch the match on the stand. There's the director's box with David Murray right in the middle of the stand there. The seats behind there are for Graham Souness and Walter Smith. So let's see if they're allowed to come out. Well, there's one way to watch the match. Television set, I think, operating as well as the view over the ground. So that certainly does remove any doubts about whether we're live or not this afternoon. 6 minutes until the kick-off. 63,000 people inside the stadium, and the weather becoming a little bit kinder now. It was rather cold and drizzly earlier on, but the sun has come out and it really looks a splendid spectacle now. There's the packed main south stand here at Hampden. Players will emerge from the tunnel at the foot of that. The band striking up now to welcome the players out. You can see the exuberance in the terraces, just what you would expect for a cup final. The Rangers fans on the west, terracing. Behind the goal to our left, the Aberdeen fans on the east to the right. There's the Warwick band. So the manager's now ready to bring their teams out. Alex Smith on the left for Aberdeen with Graham Souness. These two, I can tell you, are very good friends. Although that will be forgotten for the next hour and a half or so. Players waiting him out. A chat there going on between Willie Miller and Terry Butcher. Another tense cup final occasion. Graham Souness hasn't tasted Skol Cup defeat as the Rangers manager. Quite a remarkable record. They've won the trophy 3 times in a row during the Souness reign. And Souness looks very relaxed. So too does Alex Smith as the players emerge to a tremendous reception. Charlie Nicholas going out with Alec McLeish behind him. Ian Jess behind Alec McLeish. Ryan Grant bringing up the rear. Substitutes following out. Brian Irvine and Willem van der Aert for Aberdeen. John Brown and Ian McCall for Rangers. So the players lining up now for the introductions before the match. President of the Scottish Football League, Jack Steedman of Clydebank, leading out Mr. John McKenzie, who is the Managing Director of Valor Brewery Company Limited. The sponsors. Tim Farry, the League Secretary, also at the back. So the officials wasting no time about these introductions. They appreciate the players are very anxious to get on with things. And through to the match officials. George Smith in the middle from Edinburgh, handling his 4th major final. He's at 2 Scottish Cup finals. This is his 2nd Skol Cup final in a row. He was in charge in that marvellous match a year ago, which Rangers won by 3 goals to 2. Linesman this afternoon, Mr. Gossett from Glasgow, Mr. Fox from Galston. So I think you can take it the players' minds really are on the match rather than on the introductions. Graham Souness having a few words along the line with his players. Alex Smith savouring the occasion. He was the manager of St Mirren when they won the Scottish Cup in 1987, with Ian Ferguson now with Rangers the scorer of the winning goal. So the teams now break. So there's the Rangers line-up. All the questions answered now. Ian McCall and John Brown are on the bench. Ian Ferguson, wearing number 8, will play in midfield. So the team on very familiar lines. Mark Walters also fit to play wide on the left. In the front 2, Ali McCoist and Mo Johnston. Well, there's Ali McCoist. He's a record breaker in the Skol Cup so far. He leads with 5 goals in the competition. That will get him a Caribbean holiday if it stays that way. There's his record. 9 goals this season in all, and looking for his 6th Skol Cup winners medal. And Ian Ferguson must represent something of a gamble for Rangers this afternoon. He hasn't played since being injured about 3 weeks ago. 22-year-old with 3 caps. There's that transfer fee when he came to Rangers from St Mirren nearly 2 years ago. Well, Aberdeen manager Alex Smith had lots of considerations about his lineup, and he's left Brian Irvine alongside Willem van der Aert on the bench. Ryan Grant wears number 4 to play in the middle of the field alongside Jim Bett, Paul Mason and Robert Connor, and young Ian Jess is selected to play up front. So there's Charlie Nicholas. So he is anxious to break his scoring duck. He hasn't scored this season at all, which is really quite remarkable. He did score in a League Cup final way back in 1981 for Celtic. Nicholas, a key man up front, and his striking partner this afternoon, the youngest player on the field. He was signed for Rangers before being released and then going up to Aberdeen. 18 years old, he won't be 19 until December, starting only his 8th first-team match. The referee, one of Scotland's most experienced officials, 46-year-old civil servant from Edinburgh, George Smith, who handled last year's final with such calmness and authority. He was in charge of the Celtic Rangers Cup final of 1980 and the Celtic Dundee United final of 1988. So a very experienced match official. So the opening stage of the match sure to be crucial. Aberdeen still smarting after that 3-1 defeat against Aberdeen in the league 8 days ago at Pittodrie. And Rangers coming to this match after a good victory against Dundee United in the league. So a tremendous build-up of noise around Hampden. 63,000 people waiting for referee George Smith to get the 44th League Cup final underway. So So a calm check around the stadium. The referee checks with his linesman. It's Aberdeen who'll start the match. And it's back with Brian Grant. Johnston making a challenge. Just a bit of involvement here for Chris Woods. He'll relish this early touch of the ball after his shoulder injuries earlier in the season. Just 8 matches so far for Rangers. McLeish going up with Johnston. Here's David Robertson. Nicholas through the middle on his own for the moment. Supported there by Mason. Gough's interception. There's Ferguson and Walters. And Ferguson, Washington being involved very early on. Linking here with Walters. McCoist sends it back. There's Stuart Munro. Wilkins to Gough. Wilkins and Ferguson are the central midfield players for Rangers. Stephen on the right, Walters on the left. And Jim Bett lays it back calmly to Alec McLeish. Here's Snelders calling for a touch of the ball. Goalkeeper's always anxious to get that first touch. Alec McLeish calming things down at the back for Aberdeen. Gary Stevens wins that high ball, but he's been given a free kick for the challenge made by young Ian Jess. Young man with a very bright future in the game, but what a major occasion this is for him, a day he'll never forget. Gough plays it forward. There's Johnston with a layoff. He was taken late by Willie Miller. Well, the referee keeping a very tight grip on things because he could have allowed the advantage rule, and Willie Miller's little outburst there being picked up by the referee. Referee George Smith stamping his authority on the match very early on. And it's Wilkins with a free kick. Gough has gone forward, so has Butcher. It's Johnston who gets the touch. And behind for the Aberdeen goalkeeper. All a bit tense and nervous early on, Ian.
Well, both teams feeling each other out at this particular stage, but I think Rangers, you know, have got to think of other ways of getting the ball up to McCoist and Johnston other than knocking long balls, which I have seen them do this season, and I don't think it's a good ploy at all. I think they've got to play through midfield and then give the boys a better service.
Willie Miller going across the bows of McCoist. Here's Mason. Nicholas with a return pass. He was taken late by Gough. Very hefty challenge there on Charlie Nicholas by Richard Gough after he released a very fine pass to Jim Bett. Well, this is certainly not messing about, that's for sure. There's Nicholas laying off the pass and taking that thumping challenge late from Gough. Well, we've now seen Johnston take a hefty blow from Willie Miller. Now it's Nicholas' turn from Richard Gough. Is this an indication of what we're about to see, Ian?
Well, that always happens in the game, you know. There's a little tit for tat, you know. One of your forwards gets a bang, so a big defender at the other end has a go at the opposing forward. I hope the game doesn't degenerate into a kicking match, because the stage is not about that, is it? It's about playing football, playing entertaining stuff today.
Well, the Aberdeen physio, David Wiley, being given plenty of time by the referee to attend to Charlie Nicholas. Perhaps the referee has in mind that a little bit of a delay now might not do any harm to calm things down out there. Well, Nicholas certainly is used to hefty treatment, but he didn't welcome that, that's for sure. The free kick being taken by McLeish. And Chris Woods calling to Gary Stevens to leave that to him. And no misunderstanding there. Johnston getting up well again. Here's Walters. Trying to take on McKimmie. And there will be a free kick. Bit of obstruction there by McKimmie. To prevent Walters getting off his mark. Another opportunity for the Rangers central defenders, Terry Butcher and Richard Gough, to make their way into the box. Here's Walters. Headed away by Connor. Wilkins retrieves it. Difficult one for Stephen. No room at all to turn. He knew the challenge was coming in from Robert Connor. And he's quite happy to take this throw. Gary Stevens to Wilkins. Held down by Miller. Good dummy that by Bett. Here's Mason. Looking for a run from McKimmie on the right. He was impeded surely by Walters. No, the referee saw nothing wrong with that. Well, Mason certainly was obstructed there by Ian Ferguson. Free kicks already taken. Laid wide by Connor for Robertson. Good running by David Robertson. He's away from Stevens. Here's Jess. Going against Gary Stevens. Good play by Wilkins and by Stephen. Johnston using Wilkins again. The point of attack switch to the left by Gary Stevens for Butcher. And McCoist had space had he been able to control that. Here's Connor now for Aberdeen. Great play by Jess. That'll give him a great boost to his confidence. Long ball forward from Bett. And a good leap and fine header by Richard. Very encouraging bit of play that from Ian Jess.
Looks a talented young boy. I hope he settles into the game well and we see his talents today. It is a big occasion for him, but I mean, he's got some very good players around him. And Aberdeen play good football, you know, they play good studied football, so he should get plenty of service.
David Robertson stepping in, cutting off that pass intended for Johnston. The referee wants the throw taken, several yards further back. Robertson with a header. The Rangers continuing to press on the right flank. Gary Stevens capable of a long throw. Butcher has gone into the box. Target there was Butcher, there he goes. And Walters almost get in there. Well, the Aberdeen players upset about that challenge by Walters, but Stuart McKimmie here is almost penalised for waiting for the ball to reach him. Just look at this, and Walters it was who stepped in. Had to be turned away by McLeish. Well, that could have been costly for Aberdeen. Ball taken by Stephen. Towards Wilkins. That was well read by Bett. And a fine pass. There's Nicholas. Tried to play that through the legs of Stevens. The layoff from McCoist, taken to the back by Willie Miller. A free kick to Rangers. Still really waiting for the play to settle down, and referee Smith is doing all he can to ensure that things remain calm out there. McCoist looking for space. It's Gary Stevens with the free kick. Bringing it in low towards McCoist. Fine piece of play that. The rehearsed move. Richard Gough with a layoff, trying to return the ball to McCoist.
Well, Rangers obviously with the big fellas up there normally knock the ball high, so they've come up with a little idea and it almost worked for them.
Good inventive play from the set piece. There's Walters challenged in the back by McKimmie. Good sharp tackle that by Stuart Munro. McKimmie. Touched on there by Nicholas, too far ahead of Jess. A long ball from Stevens.
See, that's what I was talking about, Jock. I really do think that that's just a wasted ball. And the Rangers, you know, every time I see them, I see so many balls played from way inside their own half, just knocked right through, and it runs through the goalkeeper. I do believe they've got to find the midfield players, and Wilkins would want to take it because that's the kind of player he is, and I think they've got to play through that midfield.
Well, pass back there from Stuart Munro. Getting up the head of McLeish. There's David Robertson. Walters holding off McKimmie. Paul Mason wins it for Aberdeen. Now Nicholas coming deep. Giving a difficult ball there to Bett, who was fouled by Ferguson. Free kick already taken by Aberdeen. Across it goes to David Robertson. Here's Jess. That's good control. Good tackle by Gough. Now Wilkins. Well read by Connor. Wilkins involved again. Playing with lots of energy and enthusiasm in midfield, Ray Wilkins. Speculation about his Rangers career coming to an end. And he's certainly got his mind on the job this afternoon. There's Gough. Clearance by Miller. Here's Jess. That's good play. Here's Jim Bett. Running at the Rangers defence. Looking for a free kick. He thought he was impeded there by Butcher. The referee had a very good view of that and disagreed. Bett trying to use his acceleration from midfield. He had no support. Well, that's great play by Walters. He's away from McKimmie. Johnston and McCoist wait in the middle. Trevor Stephen arriving late. There's McCoist. Well tackled by McLeish. Superb piece of defending there by McLeish. And Munro did enough with that interception to concede the throw to Aberdeen.
Well, Mark Walters looks to be on form this afternoon, and he's been giving McKimmie a bit of trouble down that side, and I think if Rangers, you know, can get the ball out to him, we could see something happening from that left wing.
So the throw on the far side taken by Jim Bett for Aberdeen. This is McLeish. And Robertson. Connor has come to the left touchline ahead of Robertson. That was intended for Nicholas. Won by Ferguson for Wilkins. That's good play at midfield from Rangers. Looking for Mo Johnston with the pass. And a bit of interplay there involving Wilkins and Stephen. Looking promising for Rangers for a moment. Marking is very tight. There's not much on for Connor. It's one from Mason to chase with Munro. Good defending there by Stuart Munro. He's clearly frustrated that the throw has gone to Aberdeen. That'll be a very interesting tussle over on the far side. Paul Mason and Stuart Munro. There's McKimmie with the throw. Nicholas shows himself inside. Here's Johnston now for Rangers. And some service there to Walters. McCoist makes the run. The covering player is Willie Miller. And Miller turned out behind for the corner kick before he was bumped there by McCoist. He clearly thinks it was a foul, but the referee says the corner kick it is.
It looks to me as if the referee and Willie Miller have fallen out somewhat, because that looked a foul against McCoist as far as I was concerned.
Well, I don't know about that. Ian felt that the player played the ball first and went for the corner. An inevitable collision after that. And here's the corner from Trevor Stephen. Here's Walters. Stephen accepts another corner kick. A very important phase in the match as Rangers press for the opener. Richard Gough and Terry Butcher in the midst of things in the box. And Johnston going up unchallenged at the far post. Well, the angle was very tight indeed, but question marks here. Theo Snelders decided to leave that, and Johnston headed it against the post.
Well, Stuart McKimmie was the marker again, and that's McKimmie's been caught at both posts. And well done, Mo Johnston. I mean, he really has got spring heels, the little fella.
There's Willie Miller. Johnston causing problems again for the Aberdeen defence. McLeish building from the back. Using Willie Miller. That's intended for Mason, and good goalkeeping there by Woods. Mason testing the pace of Munro. The clock says 15 minutes and the score sheet remains blank. Rangers having more pressure in that opening spell. Here goes Walters again, looks very much in the mood. The throw taken quickly. Here's Johnston trying to get away from Miller. Wilkins available again. Played across there by Grant towards McLeish. That's great play by David Robertson. Fine piece of acceleration there. Nicholas being pressure and Butcher, but Wilkins comes to the skipper's aid. This is Stephen. Good running there by Gary Stevens. David Robertson's with him. And the corner kick has been given. The linesman gave that immediately. David Robertson looked upset about it. So did Robert Connor. Two very quick players indeed. David Robertson and Gary Stevens going for that ball. So it's Butcher again. The far corner of the box this time. Gough is on the near post. Stephen with the outswinger. Put away by Jess. There's no one in that gap for Aberdeen. Gary Stevens returns it, looking for Butcher or Gough. It was Gough he found. And it's behind for an Aberdeen goal kick. Well, Rangers having the bulk of the pressure, Ian, but they're not showing too many signs of breaking through.
No, we've had a couple of escapes here at both times at the far post, but other than that, you know, I think the Aberdeen boys are handling the pressure well.
Here's Ian Ferguson. Stevens coming from the right. The pass comes off Connor. So here's Gary Stevens with the throw. McCoist will hit flick on. The angle wasn't right for Johnston. So Aberdeen still really to be seen in an attacking sense in the match. They've looked very resilient at the back and busy in midfield, but still very few chances for Charlie Nicholas and Ian Jess up front to demonstrate the talent. Gough with the interception in the air. Robertson playing it wide, looking for Mason. Here's Jim Bett. Switching play now. Inviting teammates to make space. Here's McKimmie and Mason. Jim Bett playing it forward, but Robert Connor was caught on his heels when that pass was released. Good touch on again by McCoist. Moore going across in front of Johnston. Wilkins to Stephen. There's Stevens. Hadn't quite enough space to get away from Ian Jess. McLeish coming to offer himself for the throw. Nicholas very deep. Here's McLeish. Aberdeen trying to have a three-pronged attack whenever they have possession, with Jess on the left, Nicholas in the middle and Mason on the right. Great header on by Johnston to McCoist. Here's Walter. Stephen is free on the right. The interception was made by Connor, but he used an arm. And the referee is going to take action against Robert Connor. Well, it's the first booking of the match for the Aberdeen number 10. Promising move this from Rangers. Johnston, McCoist and then Walters. The Walters pass, which was stopped there by the right arm of Connor.
Well, that's very harsh. As far as I'm concerned, Connor said he's back to the ball and he was running away, and the ball hit him on his arm. I think that's a very, very harsh decision by the referee.
Well, certainly Connor will feel a bit unfortunate there.
Well, 2 hefty tackles have gone in. There's been no yellow card for that, but that technical infringement. There's Johnston, cleared by McLeish. Johnston's offside. Taken there late by Miller. The whistle had gone. And Johnston making light of that, but it wasn't half a hefty tackle from Miller.
Well, Jim Bett, if that ball had gone in it, Jim Bett would have been held responsible there, because he tried to be very clever on the edge of his own box. You know, in a situation like that, you've just got to get it away.
David Robertson. Good play again by Jess, but he was hustled there by Wilkins. The tackle on the back is penalised. It's a free kick to Aberdeen. Well, the first touch of young Ian Jess is very impressive, isn't it?
Well, it was delightful on it when he killed the ball, turned, was on his way, and you know, I didn't think that Wilkins had done anything wrong either. I thought he slid in, got the ball. I think the referee at this particular point has been a little bit petty.
Smith, the referee, giving that free kick to Aberdeen. Here's Jim Bett. Stevens came to meet him. Grant now to Connor. The looping cross. Gough doing well as he slipped to get his head to the ball. And a free kick given to Aberdeen. The referee indicating foot up in a challenge there. Well, Ian Ferguson protesting bitterly about that. The referee will have a word with him, and this will end up in a marvellous opportunity for Aberdeen. But that infringement not at all clear. The referee spotted it instantly, and he indicated it was dangerous play with a foot being raised too high. So we'll see here what the infringement was. There was Ian Ferguson. He certainly appeared to be trying to play the ball. That's his complaint. But the referee has given the free kick, and an opportunity for a rehearsed move from Aberdeen. Moving the ball back the full 10 yards. Nichols is there, Connor is there, Bett is there. All of them have scored from free kicks outside the box. There's Connor, lofting it in. The header from Mason. Aberdeen are ahead. 22 minutes of the first half gone. Paul Mason, the Aberdeen leading goal scorer, gives Aberdeen the lead. The ball breaking off the wall, a delightful ball in there from Connor. Mason getting up there with Munro. Woods was caught in no man's land, and that's what has given Aberdeen the lead. Paul Mason's 7th goal of the season. Woods came and stopped, left himself stranded, and Mason took full advantage.
Well done, young Paul Mason, but you have to say that with poor defending by Rangers. I thought the goalkeeper might have come all the way, and then a punch at it. Munro was caught on his heels, and Mason just got a couple of inches above him to nod it in.
So there's the scoreline. Aberdeen in the lead. Paul Mason the scorer, and that would certainly give a big travelling support from Liverpool a lot of pleasure, because Paul Mason has a busload of fans up from his hometown of Liverpool to support him this afternoon. And they've seen him give his team the lead midway through the first half. Well, Aberdeen scarcely seen in attacking sense in the match up till that point. Made that attack count, and Rangers, of course, will be feeling even more aggrieved about the free kick decision against Ian Ferguson. Certainly developing into yet another humdinger, Ian.
Well, it's all set up now, you know. That's the first of the goals of the afternoon, and we'll see if Rangers can fight back, get on terms.
The Aberdeen fans delighted. Certainly entitled to be. First glimpse of goal in the match for Aberdeen, and Paul Mason took full advantage. Charlie Nicholas has seen his team take the lead. He's still looking at his first goal of the season. He's certainly a big occasion player. There's Jim Bett. Now Grant. Into the gap there for Jess. And Richard Gough went all the way with him, and Gough thought the ball had carried over for the goal kick. The linesman on the spot disagreed. Cleared by McKimmie.
Stuart McKimmie will certainly be thoroughly relieved because he's been involved in a couple of bits of hesitation inside his own box, which have not yet been punished, and he's also watched Paul Mason score the opener. Bett goes down, hustled by Johnston. Here's Connor. Now McLeish. Tackled well by Gough. Connor hustling forward again and wins the throw off Stevens. Here's Jess. Bett back to Grant. On the far side, McKimmie. There's Mason with a return pass. These two developing a great understanding. McKimmie and Mason on the right for Aberdeen. And a bit of carelessness there from Ian Ferguson on the pass back. Corner kick it is to Aberdeen. So Wilkins on the post, on one post, Stephen on the other. Every Rangers player in the penalty area to defend. Here's McLeish. Scored once already this season with a header. McLeish up well again. Played away by Johnston. Here's Grant. Delightful little chip. Dumped away by Butcher. Here's Bett. Aberdeen trying to keep the pressure on. McKimmie lofting it in. Gary Stevens should be able to deal with this. And Mo Johnston has found space. Holds off Jim Bett. Ferguson to Wilkins. What a superb match this is turning out to be once again. Here's Grant. In the middle of the field was Mason. Ferguson made the challenge, a good one. Munro sends it back. Good play from Gary Stevens. McCoist comes short for the pass. Couldn't control it. Well, Aberdeen undoubtedly have had the start they wanted very badly indeed. Put themselves back on the rails. They're looking to get in front early on. They've managed that. And they've carried lots of menace. On one occasion when they managed to get forward. First to the ball, a chase for Jess with Butcher. Calm defending by Butcher. Head flick on from McCall, goes straight to David Robertson. It's not giving young Ian Jess much chance to capitalise up front. Ball still in play with Walters. Great running by Munro. McCoist, Johnston, Stephen are all up in support. Ian Ferguson coming late. There's Munro. Came off Willie Miller, and Snelders was able to keep the ball in play. Willie Miller was the player intercepting that shot from Munro, but some fine play by Rangers on the left. Walters was the player who released Stuart Munro. He came into his weaker foot, the right, saw the chance for the shot at goal, and Miller did enough for Aberdeen.
Well, I think Aberdeen have got Rangers a bit rattled now, and when I'm looking at Rangers and wondering how they're going to create a goal here, because there are certain players in the team really not been in the game today.
Ian Jess for Aberdeen, linking with Mason. Back it goes to Bett. That's intended for Connor, but hit with too much power.
I was thinking about Trevor Stephen out here on the right-hand side, you know. I mean, Trevor now is just playing in a role on the halfway line, and he's not getting forward at all, John. I mean, I used to watch this young lad where he could get onto the byline, get crosses in. He's not doing anything like that at all now.
McCoist battling hard again in the air with McLeish. There's Willie Miller. Forward goes Robertson. Well, no real prospect of Jess reaching that with Butcher coming in behind him. Good play by Johnston.
certainly not found wanting as far as effort's concerned. Here's a chance for Stephen to take on Robertson. Well, they seem to lack some confidence there, Ian.
Well, that's what I'm saying to you now. I mean, that's about as far forward as he's got in this particular match with the ball. Now, Trevor Stephen, when he was really in his prime and playing well there, would have gone straight and attacked the fullback, got inside the box and cut one back.
So here's Stephen again for Rangers, in the middle of the field this time. That's sent across for McCoist. Walters has space coming from a deep position. Linking with Stephen. McKimmie's quickly across. Now Bett. Looking for Nicholas. He's challenged quickly by Gough. Butcher. So going for the high ball forward. Here's Paul Mason. Now Nicholas. Looking for the run made by Bett. Munro did well for Rangers. But there is more variety about the Aberdeen attacking moves.
Well, more ideas, you know. The Rangers again, Terry Butcher gets it, knocks it 50 yards, you know, which is easy as pie for the defenders down there, for the Aberdeen defenders. So, as I say, Rangers have got to get a bit more variety in their attacks.
Conlon has done a good job so far for Aberdeen, a vital goal and the only goal of the match so far, and now helping in defence. Wilkins across to Stevens. Johnston has come wide on the right. Good dummy by Gough. He's gone forward to link with the attack. Wilkins has to go back. Complaining to Trevor Stevens on the right wing was vacated there. He was looking to play a pass into that area and there was no one around. Stephen had gone for a wonder across field for the moment. Good header again by Johnston. Here's Gary Stevens. Back it goes to Wilkins. Trevor Stephen again. Gary Stevens. Trevor Stephen, there's Wilkins. Willie Miller at full stretch. Helped on its way by Mason, and here's Bett stepping away from Ian Ferguson. So confident and composed. Now Mason. He was well tackled by Butcher. That sends it long, but that's not the kind of service Charlie Nicholas relishes.
Charlie had a look at that one and decided not to go for it. Actually, it would have been a good ball for, say, Mason or Jess, but not for Charlie.
Nicholas preferring passes to his feet. And this time the foul is against McCoist, using an elbow in the challenge with McLeish. Well, they're having a rare old tussle, these two international teammates, McCoist and McLeish. So McLeish himself will take this free kick. Came off the head of Stephen. Ian McCall and John Brown, the Rangers subs, running past Connor there to warm up. Johnston into the path of Ian Ferguson. That's a good ball to McCoist. Now Walters. Ferguson has continued the run. McCoist also is up. And Grant has done a good job so far on Walters, slowing down his progress. Well, now back to Wilkins, and Aberdeen now everyone back to face the ball. Walters will cross. McCoist backing into Willie Miller. The referee has given a penalty kick. Well, that is quite remarkable. Quite remarkable. Let's see this again. The ball chipped in. Now watch McCoist backing in all the way to Willie Miller. Miller trying to play the ball, being pushed back all the time. Down goes McCoist. And the referee sees that as a penalty kick.
Well, if the referee sees it as a penalty, certainly I don't. I mean, you're right enough about backing in. He is backing into Willie Miller. But watch him there, he'll just fall down. I mean, Miller's feet don't get anywhere near McCoist's feet, and he just fell down. That was a very, very innocuous thing there. I mean, why do referees give penalty kicks for that?
Well, not only is he giving a penalty kick, he's also going to take action here. One of the Aberdeen players has gone too far in his protest. It looks like Alec McLeish. clearly irate about that. Look at the look of frustration on his face. Well, I really have to express some sympathy there for Aberdeen. It looked to me as though the referee was deceived totally by McCoist in the box. There's Ali McCoist. A penalty kick for Rangers. Mark Walters has a 100% record this season from the spot. He's scored 2 out of 2, so he's entrusted with the task of bringing Rangers back to level terms. The referee insisting that all players stay out of the box. Here goes Walters against Snelders. Rangers are back on level terms. 35 minutes gone. A beautifully taken penalty kick by Mark Walters, sending Snelders the wrong way, leaving him helpless. Well, penalties can scarcely be taken better than that. And Rangers are right back now on level terms. Mark Walters, the scorer. It's his 5th goal of the season. His 3rd from the penalty spot out of 3. And we can be sure Aberdeen will be harbouring a massive grievance about that. Well, the Rangers fans coming to life. There is the scoreline. About 9 minutes remaining in the first half. Rangers 1, Aberdeen 1, as the Rangers fans now have had some reason to cheer. Here's Nicholas running straight into Ferguson. Walters with a long ball forward. Off goes McCoist. Holds it up. Still needs support inside. There's Johnston calling for the ball. Off the post. Back to Stevens. And Willie Miller hooks the ball to safety. So corner kick on the far side, and Aberdeen suddenly looking ragged at the back. There was McCoist twisting and turning. Johnston called for the ball. A fine effort off the junction of the post and the crossbar. Stevens then had a great chance. He couldn't find the net either. Trevor Stephen with the in-swinger. Off at the near post. Turned away there by Brian Grant. It'll be another corner kick to Rangers. Now some problems behind the goal there. Fans being released there. There's a fence around the stadium, but gates there to allow fans to be released. And there's one fan who won't see much more of the match. Corner kick taken by Trevor Stephen, and that's behind for the goal kick. Well, totally relentless action once again in the Skol Cup final, and Aberdeen will have to regroup themselves. They've clearly been rattled by that penalty award.
Well, I'm sure that, I mean, they were mentally stunned by that, and Rangers almost caught them on the hop, and it was a great move, a great combined move by McCoist and Johnston. They almost won another one. But the Aberdeen boys have got to, get their act together again, concentrate on the match, and don't lose another goal, certainly not before half-time, that's for sure.
Walters plays it back. Here's Wilkins. Now Stuart Munro. Stephen to Wilkins. Walters playing the first-time cross. McLeish with an accurate clearance, picking up Mason on the right. Rangers picking up all the loose balls at the moment. Here's Munro. Running straight into Grant. Picked up by Nicholas. In the middle of the field is Bett. Very quick with the ball at his feet, Jim Bett. Look at this. Here's Jess. Stepping away from Ferguson. Over on the far side is Mason. Taking on Munro, linking with Nicholas. Good play from Aberdeen. Down goes Mason. And the referee's given a goal kick this time. And Aberdeen, of course, now looking for a penalty kick when any of their players go down in the box. Here was Paul Mason playing it inside to Nicholas. Now Mason didn't quite control the ball correctly, and he did certainly seem to be hustled there by Stuart Munro, and that certainly might have been as good an award as the last one.
Well, if you're going to give a penalty for Rangers, you've got to give one for Aberdeen for that.
So there's Robertson lofting it forward. Mason gives chase. Well, an ungainly clearance there by Stuart Munro. 5 minutes remaining in a hectic first half. The score still level at 1 goal apiece. There's Jess, he was held there. The jersey was held by Gough. Free kick to Aberdeen. They've already shown how dangerous they are from these set pieces around the box. Another opportunity presents itself now, and Willie Miller is there to take advantage with McLeish. McLeish marked by Butcher. Right to the far post it goes, and Gough helps it on. Here's David Robertson. Well, they appear to be caught in two minds there, whether to let that ball run and accept a throw or keep it in play. In the end, they gave possession to Rangers. Bit of pushing there, and a free kick to Rangers. Richard Gough for the free kick. Well won by Robertson. McCoist playing into space. The first player there is McKimmie, despite being fouled there all the way by Walters. There'll be trouble here for Walters. Well, McKimmie looked to be more alert. He was sharper to the ball. And then Walters tried to equalise things with this foul, using his right arm principally to give that free kick. And a booking it will be of Mark Walters. A long lecture there, and Mark Walters still has plenty to say, perhaps suggesting it's his first foul of the match, but nevertheless he's booked. So McLeish now with this free kick. That goes Robertson. Gough heading clear. Ryan Grant is there. Controlled there by Jess. He's on the turn. Rangers defenders appealing for handball. But Jess certainly doesn't look out of place in this company, that's for sure. Controlling the ball there, turning, looking for the shooting chance, keeping it low and just wide of the post. Looking for space, showing good awareness there. He knew where the goal was, just missed the target. A free kick against McLeish for the challenge in Johnston. Gough for the free kick. McLeish winning it in commanding fashion. Back with Gary Stevens. The face of the crossbar. What an incredible shot that was from Stevens. Rangers still pressing forward toward the half-time whistle, looking for the lead. Willie Miller's header. There's McKimmie. Mason inside for Grant. Grant still holding possession up for Mason. Down goes Mason. The culprit was Walters. Booked a moment ago and guilty of a rash tackle there, but how close Rangers came with that incredible effort from Gary Stevens. Look at this. The speed beat Snelders. It came right off the face of the crossbar and came right out to the 18-yard line. Well, Richard Gough is injured. And back with the free kick to Aberdeen for the foul committed by Mark Walters. Richard Gough getting treatment. Referee Smith scarcely has had to work harder than he has in the last 45 minutes. Still listening to complaints, I think, from Gough and Butcher.
Well, what a game it's turning out to be, Jock. I mean, already we've had a goal apiece. We've had Rangers hitting the bar twice. Mo Johnson and Gary Stevens. I mean, there was tremendous power in this shot. Look at that. He must be all of 30 yards. Dear me. But let's not forget, of course, that Aberdeen hit the woodwork as well. at the other end. So I mean, we've had plenty of goalmouth action.
The Wizard Gough with some damage right on the forehead there, where he will do most of his heading. So that could be a problem. Might need some protection at half-time. So Phil Boersma, the Rangers trainer, still on the field. And he is now being spoken to also by referee Smith. So he's being invited to leave with some alacrity. So we're now into time added on for stoppages at the end of this incredible first half. There's Alec McLeish with a free kick. Now Connor. Robertson has gone forward to use his ability in the air. That's gone straight through to Woods. Well, we really wondered if the last two finals could be emulated this afternoon, but it looks very much as though we're seeing a third in succession. Similar interest, entertainment and quality. There's David Robertson. Headed by Miller. There's Ferguson looking for Walters. He stumbled there as he went to the ball with McKimmie. Here's Paul Mason. Butcher intercepts easily. That pass intended for Nicholas. In goes Willie Miller. But the half-time whistle has gone before that challenge was made. Rangers and Aberdeen tied at one apiece, and we'll be right back after this break.